Why do dictators feel no guilt in the face of innocent death? How power silences the human conscience. There is a scene that repeats itself again and again on the news. Citizens take to the streets with nothing in their hands but chant songs and mobile phones. Facing them, the state does not choose dialogue. It reaches first for armored vehicles, automatic weapons, and arrest orders. In authoritarian regimes, especially those that cloak power in religion or ideology, protest quickly becomes heresy or treason. Arrested young people do not wait for trials. They disappear. At this point, a question naturally arises. Do those who give these orders truly feel nothing? When innocent lives are extinguished, does their conscience not even tremble? Consider Adolf Hitler. He did not personally pull the trigger. Instead, he pulled language. Words like racial purity, historical mission, and national survival were repeated endlessly in his speeches. As those words accumulated, Jews, people with disabilities, and political opponents ceased to be neighbors. They became diseases, burdens, obstacles to be removed. Gas chambers and concentration camps did not appear overnight. First, neighbors were turned into numbers, and only then did death follow. Hitler's crime was abstraction before brutality. The moment human faces were erased, guilt lost its place. Joseph Stalin was even colder. In his rule, death was not the result of rage but of administration. During the Great Purge, millions were arrested, executed, or sent to labor camps. The reason was simple: suspicion. Longtime comrades became traitors overnight. Evidence mattered less than the spread of fear. The wider the fear, the more secure the power. To Stalin, human life was a cost of system maintenance. A single document, a single stamp could end a life. In such a structure, guilt is inefficient. Instead of feeling remorse, he felt confidence that order was being preserved. Mao Zedong represents another type. He promised the future, a society of equality, a nation without hunger, and demanded present suffering in return. The result was mass starvation, public denunciations, and lynchings. Villages were turned into surveillance networks where neighbors watched neighbors and children informed on parents. Hunger was blamed on nature and responsibility flowed downward. The leader's words became doctrine, and doubting doctrine meant becoming a counter-revolutionary. In such a world, conscience was a private luxury. Before the so-called greater cause, it had to remain silent. In the system built by Kim Il-sung, power turned into myth. Titles such as anti-Japanese hero, father of the nation, and eternal son elevated the leader into an infallible being. Opposition was no longer a political choice but a crime. The reality of political prison camps where entire families are punished reflects this logic. In a structure where a child is born guilty, morality does not operate. Punishment is not correction but erasure. In such a system, the leader rarely even has the opportunity to feel cruel. He believes he is enforcing order. Pol Pot's Cambodia shows this logic in its most naked form. He declared that the past must be erased. Cities were emptied, schools closed, money abolished. Wearing glasses, being a teacher, or knowing a foreign language could be grounds for execution. Knowledge became a crime and memory a threat. People were no longer individuals but markers of class. Death was not punishment but purification. The more purity was preached, the more blood flowed. Pol Pot did not see himself as a butcher but as an architect of a new world. In the modern era, Vladimir Putin offers a different variation. Opposition is framed as a puppet of foreign enemies. Media is silenced and truth becomes a matter of state secrecy. Soldiers who die in war are called heroes while citizens who ask questions are branded traitors. Violence becomes defense rather than aggression. Once labeled defense, guilt becomes unnecessary. He believes he is protecting the state. Belief replaces morality. In North Korea under Kim Jong-un, fear has become routine. Public executions, forced labor camps, and collective punishment remain long-standing tools of governance. Loyalty is not a choice but a condition for survival. Failing to smile is suspicious, failing to clap is dangerous. The leader's emotions are irrelevant. The system itself produces violence automatically. Orders are simple, execution is brutal, and responsibility vanishes. In such a structure, guilt never reaches the individual. All these cases share a common thread. Dictators are rarely born monsters. Power transforms them. First, people are turned into numbers and categories. Second, violence is wrapped in lofty causes. Third, responsibility is fragmented so no one feels like the perpetrator. Fourth, opponents are dehumanized, cutting off empathy. When these steps are complete, ordinary decisions lead to mass killing. That is why outrage alone is not enough. Asking why they feel no guilt must lead to the deeper question of how such worlds are constructed. When power concentrates, criticism disappears and language is distorted, human conscience steadily shrinks. Ideology, myth, and the state fill the void. One final point must be remembered. What dictators fear most is not an external enemy. It is internal memory, the act of naming the dead, preserving faces, refusing to reduce lives to statistics. This is why dictators always fight, records, journalism, and art. As long as memory survives, atrocities can never be fully buried. In the end, the question returns to us. Can we continue to see people as people to the very end? Only societies that refuse to abandon that question can avoid repeating the same tragedies.